65,000 students, and over half of them are lonely. Another stat says that 27% of Americans are estranged from their families. And all the advice that we're hearing online is cut them off. Is it actually making things worse? In today's episode, we're going to ask the question, why are we still cutting people off? And is it actually working? Listen, I need you to remember, connection doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. Let's get it. All right. How you feeling?
I'm all right.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Cold day in Indianapolis.
It is a cold day in Indianapolis. My God. I don't know why I live in a place where my face hurts when I walk outside.
He lives in a wonderful place where he experienced multiple dynamics.
I don't want it. I don't want to hear that. I want to live somewhere where literally it's warm 10 months out of the year. Okay? Nobody in my community agrees with me, hence why I am still here in Indianapolis. Anyway, shout out to the Midwest. Okay. Moving on right now. Y'all, welcome to another episode of Connection by Design. I am your host, Kristen KB Newton, and I am so excited that you are here with us. Me, the host, and also my show producer, Des, who sits back there in the background and who I be talking to most of the time when we do these podcast episodes. Y'all, so check this. Recently, I read this article that was done by the University of Cincinnati. Okay. No, sorry, my bad. That was done by the University of Cincinnati. And they talked about how social media is linked to student loneliness. Now, I don't think that's a new development for most of us, right? This idea that social media is connected to loneliness. Dr. Vivek Murthy, I don't know how many administrations ago, talked about how we are in a loneliness epidemic, specifically connected to COVID and all the things. I would say that it existed before all of that, which is why I was talking about heart combos in 2017. But he would say actually that his definition of loneliness wasn't just the simple fact that you feel alone, but it's the gap that exists between the relationships you have and the relationships that you want. And I just thought that was like mind blowing. I was like, great way to get us to thinking about loneliness. And I think I've talked about this in a previous episode. So if you're interested in more of my thoughts around what loneliness is and how you can really identify it, you can check back on one of those episodes. But this study, literally across the top of it, says social media linked to student loneliness. Now, the thing that got me excited about this, because I had heard this before, was that they had 65,000 students participate in this study, which is huge. That is a lot of points of data. Okay, so I am like extremely optimistic about the patterns, right? And some of the things that came out in the article is that, there were different patterns between men and women. There were also different patterns amidst Black students that they had to be a part of the study. But this is what kind of blew me and gave me a womp 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 feeling on the back end of all of this. It says, the study said that institutions should educate students on the effects of social media and encourage them to restrict their use. Unfortunately, social media use is an individual-based activity, so it has to be motivated by the individual. The best we can do is encourage, educate, and make sure they're aware of the time limits they can set on social media. And in my mind, I'm like, there's no way that we went into an entire study, had 65,000 students be a part of the study, and we concluded, hey, it's all based on the individual. We just got to encourage these kids to limit their time on social media. Now that we know that, the more time they spend on social media, the lonelier they feel. Like, I'm like, we needed to talk to 65,000 students to, I don't know. I was just disappointed, y'all. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is I was disappointed because most of the advice that's being given right now about what to do about loneliness or isolation or disconnection sounds like this. Like, literally sounds like, well, if this is the cause, then let's remove ourselves from the source of the cause. And I'm like, and then what? Like, let's say all 65,000 of these students said, you know what? We agree We need to set timers on our phones and not renew the timer and give ourselves 15 more minutes when it goes off. Like, let's say they all say, well, okay, we're going to get off our phone. Where are they going? Like, where's that energy now being placed? The energy is not going to disappear, and the desire to connect is not going to disappear. So what tools could we actually provide to those 65,000 college students for how they can think about face-to-face, eye-to-eye, heart-to-heart interactions? I think it can be found in the 5 levels of connection, right? And I'm hoping that in today's episode, we can just kind of analyze the advice that's being given to us online, whether it's stay off your phone or, go cut them off. You got to cut them off. You got to protect your peace, or whatever the advice is that feels very general and very blanket. How can we think more critically, like, about the advice that we're being given? And how can we take this framework that you're learning about on this podcast and actually apply it, like, to your own life in a way that is more practical, more productive, and helps you see more progress in your relationships? Now, I wish I could say that I've not ever taken any blanketed advice to either cut somebody off or protect my peace or whatever. Like, I have, and I've seen it not work time and time again. I actually used to be a part of a band, and there were 6 of us in this band, and we did a lot of life together. And I need to, like, literally dedicate an entire episode to the band, like, because when you do life with people for 5 years, 6 people total for 5 years every single day, like, there's just so much content, so many stories. And y'all will see KB with hair and a blonde stripe and all things. Like, I have to give it to y'all at some point, okay? I used to be in this band, and we had a really unique scenario. And the scenario was that we were on staff with an organization, but we were also, like, faux signed to a label. So we didn't have the full benefits of either because we were kind of split between the two. But y'all, our whole scenario ended like a bad VH1 story. Like, when I say a bad VH1 story, like a where are they now kind of thing. Like, I'm waiting for somebody to do the episode. And I mean, when I say it ended badly, it ended horribly. But what the mistake that I made in that season was that I had the expectation for this organization and for this record label to actually care more about us as individuals, right, than the overarching objective of the label or objective of the organization. And that was hard to see, that as things were unraveling, it became more and more clear that the individuals involved in all of this work are not our top priority. That was really, really hard. And it was at that moment that I was like, oh, I ain't fooling with y'all no more. Like, y'all can go. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling, like you're working a job and then you find out that these people don't care nothing really about you. And you're like, yeah, I can't work here no more. Like, I don't care about y'all. I'm out of here. Every single time I have found myself in a situation like that, that has been my knee-jerk reaction, to just be like, oh no, it's a wrap. But I'm telling y'all, because of the 5 levels of connection, I have found myself able to better cope with really hard, difficult tears, right? And really hard, difficult endings of seasons, because I didn't feel like I had to completely throw somebody out the funnel. I just had to move them from the level that they were, or that I expected them to be, to the actual level that they were. And I'm sure with all the things that are happening politically right now, and the things that are maybe being exposed in the relationships you have, or the churches that you attend, or the jobs that you work, it's really, really easy right now to make those knee-jerk reactions, and it's not actually helping. And we're going to uncover what that actually could look like today at the board. So y'all, let's hop on over. Okay, welcome back to the board. So today, as we think about the 5 levels of connection, for those of you, if it's your first time here, I want to just kind of break this down because this might not make any sense right now. So the idea is that anytime someone is coming into your world, there's something that is being exchanged on the most Surface level of connection, you're exchanging information because you're talking to strangers. And then those strangers become acquaintances because you start investing with the information that you collect. And then from there, you're measuring the return on that investment on level 3. And if there's a mutual beneficial, or if this is mutually beneficial, then now you guys become allies. And then on level 4, at some point, the relationship shifts from like this shallow to deep space where we're actually allowing one another to see who we are with shared intent. And then on the deepest level of connection, you've got intimacy, where you allow people to see into who you really are. The biggest difference between the top half of the funnel and the bottom half of the funnel can be summed up in these 2 words: exchange and exposure. Levels 1, 2, and 3 are all about what we're exchanging, okay? What we're mutually exchanging with one another. And this is all about adding value to one another. We're exchanging things with one another because we see value in it. However, the bottom half of the funnel is defined really about how much of me I allow you to see. How much of my true self am I exposing to you? Now, just thinking about exchange and exposure today, what's adding value and allowing you to see the real me? How does all this connect to what we talked about in the first segment? Well, when you think about the case study, right, and the report that increased social media is actually exacerbating loneliness, right, in college students. Well, let's just think about what social media is providing for college students. It's providing them an opportunity to do this on some level. Specifically these top 3, okay? It's allowing them to collect information, to exchange information. It's allowing them to see who shared, investments with other people online. It's giving them the ability to invest in some way, whether that's I'm liking, I'm sharing, I'm reposting, we're DMing one another. They're doing that. They're just not doing it face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart, which is going to limit their ability to really go past level 3 on social media to shared intent and intimacy, which requires more than just messages back and forth, but an actual interaction of the individual face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart. Now, if the solution, according to the study, is, well, let's reduce the amount of time they're spending on social media and throw them into an in-person event, well, they're going to have to then know how to exchange information, make investments, and measure interest on those investments without the help of an app. And they need tools for doing that. So what you could do is you could provide them with a framework like this, and you can say, okay, here are some ways to collect information with people. Let's be curious. Let's ask questions, and questions beyond like, hey, how's the weather? What's your name? Where are you from? But like, let's get really good at collecting information. We can show them like there's so many opportunities to make investments with your body language, with the questions you ask, with the time that you spend, with where you put your energy. Like we can show them what does it look like to do these 3 things off of an app, right? Because we were doing it before the app got here, all right? And I think if we were willing to teach more college students how to do this in real life, instead of just saying, hey, the place that you know how to do it best, just don't do it there anymore. Good luck. I think that we'd be giving them a better chance for success. Another example that I gave in the first segment had to do with an organization I used to work for. And that organization was all 5 levels for me. Like in college, it was all this exchange. Some of my best relationships were serving alongside of the people who were also involved in this organization. And eventually, like I started showing up as my most authentic self in this space. And this organization got all of me, okay? What I noticed was once we were not able to align with the agenda of the organization, like in our band, that we were no longer mutually beneficial to the organization. We were no longer a good return on investment for them. And so they decided like we could not continue the way that we were inside the organization. Now, that's hard for me because I thought the value of the relationship was beyond how they were benefiting from us being there. But when it became evident, like in the transition, that if we're not bringing any interest on your investment, we might not have a space here. I had to then adjust my expectations. Like I had to stop expecting shared intent and intimacy from the organization and move up to this space. And so what ended up happening was that we ended up transitioning from our dynamic with the organization, and we stopped investing there. And now that organization, for me, is somewhere up here in level 1, like level 2.
So now when anybody asks me about the organization or wants to know if it's something that they should invest in, I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. Great organization. You get what I'm saying? Like, changed my life, all these things. But it stops right there for me now. Like, I no longer have a ton of investments in the space. I'm no longer measuring the return on that investment. And I'm not like exposing a lot of who I am to that organization anymore. And it might be the same thing for your job or the same thing for your church. Like, you can still have great things to say and champion the work that they might be doing, but not actively be involved like in it. And that clarity comes when you have a framework like this to run your thoughts through and your decisions through, so that you're making decisions that actually align with the currency that both parties are exchanging. Hope that's helpful. Let's get into segment 3.
My adult daughter told me she needs space after the election. She said my vote feels like a personal attack on who she is. I love her more than anything, but I'm not changing my beliefs. She blocked me on social media last week. How can I reconnect with my daughter?
Okay. Well, y'all won't be connecting over your beliefs because you'll have different ones. You get what I mean? But there's so many other things to connect over. And that's the truth. I think it's a hard truth for people to sometimes accept, but it's the truth. You know, we don't literally build our connections with people on every single thing about the person. And if you do, you probably have few relationships, or the types of relationships that you have become very hard abruptly because parts of people's lives get exposed and you're like, oh, absolutely not. You get what I mean? Again, going back to that knee jerk, like, I either feel like I have to suffer with this reality about who you are or create distance. I think what you can do is you can look for other points of connection if the political point is not going to work. And I would argue that your daughter has just communicated that as it pertains to politics, and she does not want you to hold space there, and that's fine. Like, but that doesn't mean that y'all can't talk, or you can't talk about other things, or you can't find other things to engage around. It could very possibly be true that once you guys remove politics from the table and you get to know her more deeply and more meaningfully, that you'll learn more about who she is and what she cares about and what makes her who she is and why that connects to where she stands politically. Does that make sense? But if it's just about we don't see eye to eye politically, then y'all don't see eye to eye politically, and if that's all y'all's relationship is, then you no longer have a relationship. But I would argue there's more opportunity for a relationship here, so let's look for other points of connection, and maybe move beyond like what we're connecting over to who she is. And I think that there could be an opportunity there.
The next listener said, I unfollowed my college best friend after she posted something I found offensive. We haven't talked since. Mutual friends are divided. She thinks I overreacted. I think her post showed me who she really is. Was I wrong?
I mean, the post shows you who she really was. In totality, yeah. So I think people feel this way often. Like, they feel like this thing that I have seen about you is a tell for like who you are, how you are, and why you are. And I'm like, just the one thing? Just the one thing is a tell? Like, that's like summing up an entire character based off of like one component of their life or one decision. And I'm not saying that all of those things are not data points, right? But I don't think you draw conclusions based on one piece of data, right? So could it be revealing? Yes. Could it have exposed something? Absolutely. Can you conclude who they are now off of the one post? I don't think so. And I don't think it would help you in making connections or making sense of your connections to pick and choose what thing you're going to look at and then say, this told me everything that I needed to know. It doesn't tell me everything I need to know, but it definitely informs what I need to know maybe right now. So that post could have very easily been a moment, but it doesn't mean that the post is reflective of the culture. But sometimes moments are reflective of the culture, and those cultures can be extremely exposing. But I would argue also that underneath every moment and underneath every culture is a story and is context and is a past and our seeds that were planted. And who knows if those seeds were good seeds or bad seeds or seeds that are rooted in trauma or limiting beliefs or heartbreak or whatever. Like there's like people are so complex and so nuanced that first of all, anything on social media doesn't like, now I'm not saying it doesn't count, but anything on social media is, take it with a grain of salt, good, bad, or indifferent.
You always talk about being curious.
Right.
Is this a scenario where leaning into curiosity is very important?
Yes. Great job, Des. I would absolutely encourage you to be more curious, especially about the things you don't like. Because what'll happen is when we see things we do like, we are very intrigued. Like, ooh, what is that? We see things we don't like and we are off put. Like, oh no, I want no parts of that. Like we just like, nope, it's a no for me. And I'm like, well, where's this coming from? And I think that enables us to have very critical conversations, more thoughtful conversations, especially with people who we do not get along with or align with, which is most people. Like, let me tell you, like the world would be a better place if we could all just think more critically, you get what I mean? Like about one another and how you even got here. Like, how did we get here? But some people, if we're gonna be honest, some people are like, I actually don't care. I don't care how we got here. We're here now. And it's a no for me, dog. Like that is how we look at people in the world today. And I'm like, man, if that's where we're at, whew. And I mean, believers, unbelievers, right side, left side, young, old. Like Cass is like, no.
Our last scenario is, I've been talking to someone online for weeks. We have amazing conversations, but when we met in person, something felt off. They're not who I thought they were. I don't know if I should keep going. What should I pay attention to?
Ooh, I literally was just having a conversation with some people about this the other day. Having to meet someone online and then in person. Oh, I be feeling so like, I'm so sorry.
Right. Okay.
Y'all do all right. Better than I could do. Better than I could do. Okay. My favorite Cosby quote. Better than I could do. Okay. So here's the thing. Online, all you're doing is exchanging information. That's all you're doing online. Like I'm male, female, 6 foot, I make 6 figures, I am a Christian, I don't drink, or whatever all the qualifications, the things you have to put on your profile, whatever. Like all that is just information. And even what you're talking about in your chats are all just information, okay? Then you take that information, you want to do something with it. So now we want to meet up, right? Now we want to connect. And at that point, you are measuring the return on that investment in person. But here's the thing, the rules are different in person. So you can't take what you have online and try to measure what's happening in person to what was happening online, because those are 2 completely different arenas. Those are apples and oranges. You get what I mean? Now you're taking the information that you're getting in person and you need to decide, oh, do I want to continue to invest in this? Because this is actually where the relationship will exist and live, right? Face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart. So if you're seeing a mismatch and it doesn't match up, then it's like, oh, okay, I actually have to make the decision based on what I'm experiencing in person. Yeah. And unfortunately, online is not, the way that social media works is that it is not a space for you actually to show up authentically. It is not designed to function that way. I'm not saying people don't actually know how to do that or haven't figured out how to do that, but there's always some element of, this isn't the first take, this was edited, this was thought through, this wasn't my real time reaction. Like, there's just so much dissonance between the online version and the in-person version. And I would just say, give more weight to what is happening in person than what you're experiencing or feeling online. So Des brings up a great point. She is highlighting the fact that the catfish scenario is very real, right? That, hey, online, you're one thing, in real life, you're another, right? She's like, but it's not always about that great catfish dynamic. Sometimes it's literally, oh, now nerves are in place. Now there is no filter. Now I don't have time to think about this. I can't sit here for 5 minutes and think about how I want to respond to this. So you're out of the practice of doing the in-person piece, and that creates awkwardness. What do you do about that? And Des has this thing that she says all the time about giving the moment a chance. And I think that's great advice. Like, give the moment a chance. Like, sometimes this isn't oh, you're a completely different person. It's, oh, we haven't quite figured out how to do this between us yet. We don't have enough reps. And so let's not, the tricky thing is that if you've been investing a lot online, you almost feel like the in-person commitment is a grand gesture. Whereas if you were dating locally, somebody you could just pop up and say, hey, do you want to go get something to eat or coffee? Like, now that trip to another state feels like a really big investment because, you know, we've been talking online for 6 months and now we're seeing each other for the first time, but there's all this pressure on that first, you know, initial encounter, and that's what makes it challenging. So in that, you have to kind of debrief the situation and say, hey, I know this feels like a way bigger deal because this is our first interaction, but also it is our first interaction. And if we were down the street and this was coffee, this wouldn't matter as much because I didn't have to drive 300 miles to have this awkward interaction. You get what I mean? Like, so, yeah, maybe it's just about giving the moment a chance and creating some reps and not being so quick to have that knee-jerk reaction, which again is the theme of the episode, right? Not being so quick to be like, hey, they were one thing online and they not that in real life, and so cut them off. No, maybe we're giving the moment a chance. Maybe that's what we're doing. Good job, Des. All right, y'all. So we want to hear from you. This third segment will always be about answering questions. And I'm sure that if you listen to this episode or you listen to the podcast, like, you might have a question or be like, yeah, but what about, and if that's you, like, I would love to hear your scenario and to answer your question. So you can shoot questions to me either beneath this episode in the comment section of this video or any video, or you can find me on social media at Kristen KB Newton, specifically Instagram. I am most active on Instagram. If you want to DM me there, I would love to hear your question, your scenario, your situation, and talk about it on one of the episodes. So if you've got a question, send it in to us and I will answer it live for you here. Y'all, it is my absolute pleasure to have these conversations with y'all here. I love being able to do this, and I want you to grow in your understanding of the 5 levels of connection. So we have a link below available for you if you would like to learn more about the 5 levels of connection and get a downloadable PDF that breaks it down in a more robust way. If you want videos or just more content to help you understand it, we've got that for you in the show notes, and so you can go there to check that out. Remember, y'all, connection does not happen by accident. It happens by design. Until next time, peace.